Tec Sounds presents EduTrends.
Welcome to EduTrends podcast presented by the Institute for the Future of Education. This is a Tec Sounds podcast, the official podcast of Tecnológico de Monterrey. I am José Pepe Escamilla, Associate Director of the Institute for the Future of Education. And today's guest is Rafaela Diegoli, Academic Vice Chancellor of the Tecnológico de Monterrey. Rafaela, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, it's a pleasure for me too. Thank you.
Thanks, Rafaela. So I always start the podcast with a more personal question. So I wanted to know what inspired you to focus your career in education and what has been the most rewarding and challenging part of your journey so far?
Thank you for this question. And it's funny, today at lunch, I was talking to my son. He was talking about his career choices and everything. And I told him 20 years ago, I never thought I would be where I am right now. And I think that's one of the nice things of life is how you get to where you are. I've always been passionate about education. So I was a very good student. I loved school. From kindergarten to PhD, I was always a happy student. I used to play, when I was a little kid, my dolls used to be my students, not my kids. So I think I'm more as a teacher than a mother. And somehow my background is in communication, is in entrepreneurship. And then when you put education with that, you have this powerful force of how to engage and transform individuals, organizations, societies. I think education is the force to change the world. I really believe that. I think it's very fulfilling to be in a career where you can help others achieve what they are looking for in their lives. It's quite motivated, and so I think that's part of my decision in how I've always looked for the educational pathway. Challenges. I think one of the challenges is I think it's funny because people who doesn't work in education thinks that education doesn't change much. It's an industry that doesn't change. But if you look for the last 20 years, we've changed a lot as an industry. And Tec de Monterrey, of course, always also has changed a lot. And we are in a point with AI, emerging technologies, other entrants, other organizations also working in education and also working in this mission. So we have a very dynamic industry and context. And I think this is a challenge, but is also what makes, what motivates me, because I feel that there is a space for innovation, for change, for doing things differently.
Thank you for your answer, Rafaela. I have to say that I can relate to that also because I'm an engineer in computer science and my PhD is in computer science and artificial intelligence. And I also, at one moment, I was for 11 years the dean of the School of Education, and we have had a source here that tell me, in the future you will be working in education. I will not have believed, and so life sometimes give you opportunities that you take. And for me, also this part of being a transformative force, because education can be a transformative force not only for the persons that study, but for their entourage, their families, their country, their communities.
For a whole country,
is very rewarded. Yes, exactly. And so now your position, as Vice Provost, Vice Chancellor of Academics Affairs in Tec de Monterrey, gives you the opportunity of doing some changes that are more systemic, not as a professor, but more as a manager, as a decision maker. What can you tell us about the educational model of Tec 21 and why why is it relevant, and why did Tec de Monterrey decided to do this, and what are the students saying about the educational model?
I think we Tec de Monterrey realized a little bit more than a decade ago that if we wanted to still be relevant, we still wanted to transform lives, and if we wanted to be unique, in this industry, we had to take a step forward, and rethink many of our and rethink the way that we were teaching our students. So in this sense, this is the seed for the educational model for our undergraduate programs in Tec de Monterrey. It's a model that's pretty much, it's a competence-based model. It's pretty much focused on real-world learning or using real-world challenges to learn as a pedagogy to learn. It's flexible. It moves a lot from innovation and gives the space for students, for professors to innovate. So in a sense, it moves away from this traditional lecture-based teaching that still exists, but it's not the core, to a challenge-based approach. So what we expect is that students learn the theory, the procedures, what they need to learn, and then they have the experience to apply it immediately, and in some sense, prove to themselves that they are capable of doing what they've learned.
So it's an educational model that is moving from the teacher to being more student-centered, no? And with this approach of challenges and flexibility, taking into account what the student needs to ensure their success.
That's it. And if you see it from the competence-based, as a competence-based model, the student is the center of the whole process, and then it's not about only the competencies that they are going to develop, but also that they feel that they know they are competent. There is this meta level, let's say, where you know what you know. And that's very important in a competence-based model. And in a certain way, it also allows the student to have a particular or a personalized path. So of course, there are these core competencies that every student from civil engineering or marketing may have, but they can also personalize and acquire additional competencies that make sense for the path that they are looking for in terms of their job or their professional career.
Okay, so they have a agency, no? They can do what they want. There's some flexibility in personal path. I want to go into the competency part. Sorry, Rafaela, do you want to say something?
No, I wanted to say that this is quite important. Is that the student realizes that he is responsible for his own path, for his own learning, And of course, in the first year, they don't have this auto-discipline as they should have, but they are going to develop this, and we expect them to be responsible for their own learning at some point.
That's a very, very interesting point, because we see in the Institute for the Future of Education that part of the future is that people are responsible for their own learning, but they don't have being responsible of your own learning is not only giving you the responsibility, it's also giving you the tools to understand what are the paths that exist and what are the things that you can do to choose them. Also, it's a responsibility where you have to be trained to get that responsibility.
That's right, and that was a change. That was a challenge for us in implementing the educational model. It's still a challenge because you have to organize the information and in a different way, and how you deliver it to the student is also different. And what kind of support? We've changed the people, the profile of the people who are their academic advisor, who are their the student advisors. The whole model changed to adapt to this new demand that we expect to have from the students.
Okay, so I want to move to the part of the competence of the model. And we know that 21st century skills, soft skills, horizontal skills, I like to call them power skills because they're so important. And in all the research that companies do with employers, they say that those skills like critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication are very important for the success of students in their professional lives, and I think also in their personal lives. So many universities, you will find that all universities say we develop those skills, but in most of the times they don't have an intention of developing those skills. You don't find activities that really develop those skills, and more important, you don't find assessment of those skills. So they say, we develop this and this and this. How do you develop that? Well, through our courses, math, physics, material science, or communications, writing stories, cinema, etc. But there's not really a measuring or intention of development that. How does the educational model of Tec de Monterrey lead with the development of such competencies?
Okay, I think there are 3 dimensions for this answer. First, let's call it the academic dimension. So we've declared 7 transversal skills or soft skills, if you want to call them, and they have their definition, they have their rubric, and they are mapped throughout the curriculum. So there are some courses where the professor is going to address this issue of ethics, this issue of entrepreneurship, and it's going to include this in the assessment, and there is a rubric, an institutional rubric, where they're going to be evaluated. The students are going to be evaluated. So it says it's an academic process as important and as formal as the ones that assess and develop our disciplinary skills, if you want to say so. But also, there is a lot of life at an university like Tec de Monterrey in terms of extracurricular activities. And you know that communication ethics is also developed in extracurricular activities. What we've done is that we've mapped which skill is developed in the theater workshop, in the volleyball workshop, and then we have also this curriculum of the soft skills. Where are they developed in our extracurricular activities? So these are 2 dimensions that are very complementary and very important. Actually, for our students to receive the credential of communication, for example, or for entrepreneurship, they have to have a certain assessment in the academic part, but they also have to participate in the extracurricular part. Okay, so it's the sum of both that will give them evidence that they've developed this soft skill. But then there is another level that, let's call it, it's the educational model level, and let me tell you a little bit more about what does it mean to be challenge-based in Tec de Monterrey. We have this type of courses that we call blocks that are multidisciplinary, and then the students are going to learn different contents, but they are going to have a challenge that they have to solve during this course. And this challenge is also associated with an external organization, with a company, a hospital, government, any external association. And it's in the curriculum. And what defines the challenge is the skills that I want to develop in this course. Okay, so we have the skills, and then we design the challenge, and then we go outside and we look for an enterprise, or we look for the government, or look for an educational partner to give this real world context. But what defines the challenge is the skill. And this is different from sometimes the real world experience that other universities have, where the challenge is defined by the enterprise. And this difference is important because if the challenge is defined by the skills, I can use it from the first semester on. So I can use it as a pedagogy of how I'm teaching content, of how I'm developing skills. Because if the challenge is driven by the enterprise, we usually have like a consultancy course by the last year, very open in terms of contents because you don't know what kind of challenge the enterprise is going to bring you. So the way we are working with this challenge-based learning and defining the challenge by the skills and then looking for our educational partner allows us to have 15 different challenges for our students throughout their 4-year program.
15, 50?
15.
50, okay.
15. I'm sorry for my English.
Okay, okay, sorry, no. I was,
and I forgot the last part of the answer. Why is challenge-based important for soft skills? Because when you're working with the real world, then you have a lot of uncertainty. You have maybe a director of the company that says, this is a nice idea, maybe it's theoretically correct, but it's not going to work in my enterprise because of this, and this. Students have to work in teams. They have a lot of collaborative work. It's multidisciplinary, so it pretty much emulates what students are going to face when they go to work after they graduate. So they develop these skills that will help them in their life.
Very, very interesting approach of these 3 dimensions. So one's academic, the other one is more active but with extracurricular activities, and the other one is connected to the real world through challenges and these challenges they have to solve in association with external governmental organizations, enterprises, business, etc. So do you have an idea of how much time the students spend in challenges compared to what they spend in courses during the...
I would say in number of credits, maybe half of the credits are in traditional courses, let's call it that, and half of the credits are going to be in these blocks where they have these challenges. And within the block, half of the time they are working on the challenge, half of the time they are learning, they have this more theoretical content that they have to learn to apply.
Mm-hmm. So some people may wonder if the students doesn't have all their time for theoretical work, because normally, the traditional model in universities is very theoretical. Now that you work the classroom, you may do some projects, but it's always, or most of the time, is academic projects. Now that you don't have like a real user or client that will benefit from the project. So it always stayed very theoretical or very academic in purpose. But some people may say, well, maybe this shift to challenge-based makes the students less rounded in terms of the theory, the foundations. No, well, are they really learning their math, their science, their social sciences, their medicine, etc.? No. So, what will you say about that, Costa?
So, first, I would say we still have theoretical exams. Because even students sometimes say, "Oh, I won't have exams." No, you have exams. So there's still this more traditional teaching and assessment. The thing is that when we take the time to apply, to ask students to apply what they are learning, and I think in project-based learning you do this, and problem-based learning you do this. These are not new learning methods. The difference here is that since it's a real world challenges, it adds this uncertainty element, and this, life is not perfect, and you don't have a case study with all the elements to answer the questions when you go to work. So at a certain point, I don't think we are spending more time, but we are spending the same amount of time and getting more value for this time. Of course, as a university, we are very very worried about the impact of any change that we do. There are exams and evaluations that our students take that are comparable to other universities, and they are theoretical and they are also on procedures. We don't see, actually, we see that they are learning more in terms of soft skills. There is no loss in terms of disciplinary skills. And what we have to remember is that when you are in this competence-based model, the theory, if you want to say so, it's a very important component of the competence. So it's not you won't be successful applying anything if you don't know the foundations and if you don't know what you need to apply. I understand the critique of that. I don't see it in our students in terms of observation, in terms of assessment of what we've done. And I think we have to rethink education, and we have to center it not on what the student is learning and not on what we are teaching. And I think some models are still very anchored in what we teach and not what the student learned and can apply.
That's a good difference. Not that, in fact, we know that the best way to learn something is when you apply it. No, is one of the best ways. So when you have the knowledge just in time, the theoretical knowledge that you can apply in a challenge, it's the best way to apply it, and also to apply it in a real world situation that is more complex, than a theoretical one. So that prepares students for their future life. I would like to ask you if you have in mind very short 2 or 3 examples of different disciplines of what a challenge looks like in Tec de Monterrey model.
I mean, a challenge can be, for instance, engineering students working with a multinational company to design sustainable packaging solutions, and probably the core skills that they are developing there are in terms of sustainable design, and it can be about use of materials or materials theory, and then they're going to apply on this. One of the first challenges the business students have is to redesign or rethink the business model of an enterprise. And the content that they are learning and the skills that they are learning are related to business model design, business model innovation, and also project management. So you have this core contents, and the thing is, from there, professors will design a challenge, where the students use these several elements, several theories, procedures, and how they're going to apply that. And it's the same for social sciences. It's the same for the humanities, architecture, design. So the challenge is different. The type of educational partner or external educational partner that they have is different, but the model, it's flexible, it's sufficiently flexible to be used by different disciplines.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting because when you say about the projects, it sounds very challenging, but in the good way. It's like most of the time the students are bored in their classroom because they don't see how what they're learning is transferred to reality. This is a way of students also to not also to acquire the skills, but also to be more engaged.
And because one of the things that we always struggle in education is the student is challenging us to answer, why do I need to learn this? You know, and sometimes, oh, you're going to need it one day. You know, when you work and you are in this situation, you're going to need it. But I mean, we know this doesn't work to motivate students on learning. But if they ask, why do I learn why do I need to learn this? And say, because you have a meeting tomorrow and you have to present this tomorrow to this manager, then there is the motivation. Then and there is that is the answer of why you have to learn this or why you should learn this. So I think it helps us, as you said, to engage students in the learning process, to see the value of the learning process. It makes them more demanding because, of course, if they don't see the application, they are going to challenge it because, you know, they learn with the model and say, now I expect to apply what I'm learning. Why am I not applying? But I think this is a good demand from students, and it keeps us up to date to what we are doing.
Yes, I think it sounds very interesting. I want to be a student once again, and I wanted to say also that welcome.
You should be a professor. I mean, I can tell you, as a teacher, it's a completely different experience. It's different, so you have to get used to it. For instance, in this now I'm teaching a concentration. It's a semester-long course, and I'm teaching with 7, 8 other professors. So we have to coordinate with each other. You know, are you seeing this content? No, I'm not going to see it. Okay, then I'm going to see it. I'm a little late in my module. Is this going to affect you? So we are in constant communication. It's different because the work of the professor is usually very individual, you know. I'm the queen of my course and I can do whatever I want. When I'm working with others, I have to work collaboratively. It's a change. It's a change of how we work. But it's very exciting. I mean, I love to have colleagues with whom I can talk about ideas, and I can learn from them, and they learn from me. So yeah, I love to teach it in this educational model.
Well, it's completely different. When I hear you break up that I always say that traditional education, the professor is like the Lone Ranger, and it's a mystery what happened in the classroom now because the professor closed the door and you don't know what happened there. And this is completely different because you have to fine-tune everything and put everyone in agreement. And I imagine that the change process that has been necessary for this with the Tec Monterrey faculty has been something challenging also. Can you tell us something about that?
To be very honest, I have to recognize that it adds to the workload of the professor. I mean, no questions about that. And especially when you're starting to work this way, you know, the learning curve takes some time. For us also, adopting a competence-based model, it's also new. So the learning curve also takes time because you assess in a different way, you teach in a different way. So I think we are still in this change process. It takes time. And it's interesting because the professors who are quite new at the university, you know, they've only taught in this educational model. They take it or they learn it a little bit more rapidly than the ones who had the old model, and then they have to, you know, forget the old and then learn the new. It takes a little bit more of time.
It sounds very interesting. I also want to point out that the first generation, around 12,000 incoming students in 2019, they were received, 2019, and they graduated the first generation in 2023. Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So how I know that in Tec de Monterrey, there's a very good process of follow-up of the students after they graduate with opinion of the students, opinion of the employers, etc. How can you tell you these students are doing now in the real world? when they graduate?
We are finding some very interesting information there. One of that is that students evaluate their experience at Tec de Monterrey better sometime after they graduate than right after they graduate,
So immediately maybe their opinion is like this, and then it grows.
They are like, they are very critic, and everything is bad. And then 3 months later, they are like, now that I'm applying it, it's better than I thought. And I think that's
and maybe
good,
they compare to others, yes.
Yeah, and I think that's good, because I think that's when they are seeing the real value and the real outcome of their experience. We have the highest employability rate this year since we started measuring it. And I think that's very important. And I think this is
better than the old model also.
Yeah. Okay. So we never had such a higher employability rate. I think that's important because at the end, it's also the students must get the value, the economical value of their learning also, And what's interesting, we didn't see that coming. They are graduating. Our efficiency in graduation has increased significantly. And when we estimate the return on investment for the student, because they are graduating before, because they are graduating in time, because they have jobs and everything, they have a higher return on investment than they had before. We are calculating something around 20-30% higher. That's huge.
Wow. That's huge. And do we have some measurement of what employers think of these students from the new model?
We are starting the survey next month. So
okay, we will have
for the next interview. We'll
soon.
have a conversation. And actually, the team from IFE helped us designing the survey, because of course, with a new educational model, we need a new survey. So thank you.
No, yes, our impact measurement. I know that our impact measurement group works a lot with what you do in the Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs. So we're arriving at the end of our conversation today, Rafaela. So I would like you to think in the following, 5 years or 10 years, and think what the higher education will look like in that. You can pick the period of time that you want. It can be from 3 years to whatever. And what you think, what will be the main changes in higher education, how it will look like? You can be pessimistic, optimistic, both.
No, I'm optimistic. I think you cannot be in education and be a pessimistic, really. But yeah, so I'm very excited with everything that emerging technologies and artificial intelligence may bring in terms of a more personalized, technology-enhanced, experiential learning models. I think there were things that we've dreamed of, to have them, for instance, in terms of personalization, that we didn't have the tools, or it was too expensive to afford. Now we can dream of some solutions of that. I think the data analytics can help us serve our students better, can facilitate the work of our professors. I think these hybrid models, we have to continue questioning what's worth to have in live class, and what's better to have in digital platforms, because of course it's flexible, and I think it also adds value to several experiences. And then if we go in the university level, I would hope that we are more collaborative, and I think we exchange a lot of experiences, but we don't actually work together, in solutions for our operations, for our teaching. teaching and learning. So I would very much like to talk less and do more in terms of collaboration with other universities, industries, think tanks, and lastly, I would say the future is about how do we empower students to be lifelong learners. We have to think as the university or as their bachelor as one step, not the last step. And this is a change of mind not only for universities but especially for students, for their families. We have to prepare them, and as we said before, to be agents, to be responsible for their learnings throughout their life.
Yes, I very interesting reflections, Rafael. I appreciate them, and I think they're very important. And in particular, the last one, as there are many changes coming already in the world, not only in the technologies like artificial intelligence as a big disruptor that would make people change jobs, etc., but also geopolitical things that are happening on nationalism, maybe questioning the value of democracy, liberal thinking, and universities. There are many changes coming, and I think that being resilient is a very important skill, and part of that skill is learning how you can reinvent yourself. So it's a way of having an insurance policy for the rest of your life if you're able to reinvent yourself.
That's right. That's wonderful. Yeah, I agree completely.
Thank you, Rafaela. So it's been wonderful talking to you. Thanks for sharing your work, your dreams, and what you're doing in the educational model of Tec de Monterrey today. I'm sure that this conversation will be appreciated by our audience.
Thank you.
Well, see you soon.
See you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
For more information, visit observatory.tech.mx/EduTrends podcast and ife.tech.mx. A special thanks to Tecnológico de Monterrey, the Institute for the Future of Education, and the Tec Sounds team. EduTrends producers Esteban Venegas and Christian Gigosa. Stay tuned and play Tec Sounds in your favorite podcast app for other great shows and content.